So I want to explain today why in my time teaching and coaching people to work on the habits that are going to allow them to go after personal growth and self-actualization, I came up with a framework that describes why these habits are absolutely necessary if you're interested in eventually pursuing your life purpose, your dharma. And it's a very simple framework that I think is going to be very straightforward for all of you to understand. And it's built on the hierarchy of needs that many of you here have heard of and have probably learned in your basic psychology classes in high school or so. And this is the pyramid of needs that Maslow came up with quite a while ago. We're not going to go into the details. Is it 100% accurate? There are some people saying, well, this tiering, like this hierarchy doesn't happen exactly in this sort of rigid system, that you need first level before you can move to the second level, before you can move to the third level. And actually Maslow himself admitted that there was a little bit more fluidity in the system. But for the purpose of what we're going to talk about today, it is very accurate and it is very useful. So what Maslow essentially came up with is that every human has a desire for self-actualization. And this goes together with a lot of teachings from the East that are basically saying every individual human being has, if you will, a life purpose. In yogic philosophies, some of you may know this called dharma. And really what it means is that is your unique path, that you have been gifted specific gifts in order to be able to achieve it. And you're the only person on this planet who can actually achieve those things. You're the only person with the gift for this very unique path. And as you pursue this path of self-actualization, you're going to experience the most fulfillment and satisfaction you possibly can, and you're going to contribute the most to the community. So self-actualization is not some sort of selfish serving to oneself. It's not grabbing as many resources as possible for yourself. It's not focusing only on yourself and forgetting about the rest of the world. It means optimally utilizing the gifts that have been given to you to pursue your unique life path, which in the greater context of this universe creates the most optimal outcome for you and the rest of the world. It's a kind of optimal win-win situation. And this sort of self-actualization comes with purpose, comes with meaning, and a desire for meaning has been at the center of what humans have been craving and going after for as long as we know. So Maslow said, okay, we are all striving towards this self-actualization. We all want to become the best versions of ourselves, our highest self, if you will. But he also recognized from studying a lot of people that there are certain steps that precede your ability to be able to do that. And he summarized that in this hierarchy of needs. And essentially what he says is the following. For a human, while self-actualization is the highest need in this hierarchy, what comes first is satisfying the most basic physiological needs. That means food, sleep, sex, and shelter. Sex is questionable here. We won't go into that because for humans, sex is a lot more complicated than just reproduction, right? There's a lot of emotional stuff associated with it and mental stuff. But food, sleep, and shelter are, pretty spot on, right? If you don't have food, there's going to be nothing else you're going to be thinking about. If you're really hungry, how you get food is the only thing you're really interested in. Likewise, when you're sleep deprived, everything else falls away. And if you don't get it, you're going to die. same for food. If you don't get food, you're going to die. And if you don't find shelter to protect yourself from the elements, you're going to die. So these are the most basic needs that a human being needs to fulfill. And for a very long time in history, these were the primary needs humans were focused on, because finding food wasn't as easy as it is today. Sleep, actually, historically, people were definitely getting more sleep. But even shelter, right? Like, we have such comfortable homes these days. And that used to not be the case back in the days. So this is the first level. And then the second level is safety needs. And this is really security. And security of body and health go hand in hand. Here, I guess security of body is meant that no one's trying to, shoot you, stab you. But also health, to me, is feeling safe in your body, right? If you're constantly sick, you don't feel safe in your body. If you're constantly worried about getting some sort of symptoms, you're not safe in your body. I remember that for me back then, when I used to suffer from much more problematic allergies, many of which I've managed to resolve since, I never knew when I would go somewhere where there was a bit of dust or some other sort of adverse conditions, and I would wake up the next day with a running nose and sneezing and just feeling horrible. And I was always like, can I go stay over with my friends? Can I do X? Can I do Y? There were a couple of times when I went to like summer camps and I had to sleep outside because it was an old house and I couldn't breathe because I would get such bad allergies. I didn't feel safe in my body. I didn't trust my body that I could actually go out there and live my life without suffering from adverse conditions. So health, it comes very early on. And they also employment and property, right? So being able to secure resources for a safe future, owning a home, for example, having secure job. Then come belonging and love. So this is love, affection, family, friendship, sexual intimacy. I would expand here that for anyone who's interested in more conscious way of living, really what comes down to here is connection. Deep, meaningful connection with other humans. There's a lot of shallow relationships we see these days. A lot of people end up in relationships mostly to satisfy their trauma, their improper attachment patterns from the childhood. But I would argue that every human being here on this planet, actually what they are looking for is deep connection, deep trust, deep intimacy. And then comes esteem. So achievement, confidence, position in a group, status. And I see that a lot of the time as, feelings of being worthy, feelings of being good enough to pursue something. And it makes sense, right? Because all of these things are really necessary if you want to go towards self-actualization. And I want to explain to you what I see now these days commonly, why people are struggling with going there based on this model. Most people I work with these days don't have a problem with physiological needs. If you're watching this video, if you're interested in personal growth, there's a high chance that you don't worry about how you're going to get food on your plate. Actually, you probably have more food than you need. You probably don't worry about whether or not you'll have anywhere to sleep tonight. You probably don't worry that if there's a wild storm out there, this is going to mean the end of you. Or if a lot of snow falls, that you won't be able to warm yourself up. However, I have a lot of people who come to me and they say, I know I'm capable of more than I'm achieving. I can sense my potential. I know I can do so much more, but I can't seem to be able to get there. And then we go into, okay, why? What's happening? And a lot of the time, what's behind it is low energy. People struggle with energy. They say, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I can't find motivation to do it. I wake up in the morning and I just can't seem to get out of bed. And then sometimes it's like I suffer from physical symptoms. I have problems with digestion. I have problems with really bad allergies. I have problems with being bloated all the time, and this is really holding me back. Or it can be mental health. People may come and say, I have bad anxiety. I struggle with depression, can't get out of bed in the morning. I can't find motivation. And those things are very real. And we're seeing a lot of that today. And the truth is, when you're struggling with these issues, what is happening is that your safety needs in terms of health and security of body are not actually met. You are not ticking these boxes. Now, if we go deeper and we look at why especially anxiety and depression are becoming so prevalent, which is a nervous system disorder, and nervous system disorders lead to digestive problems, autoimmune diseases, they can lead to cancer, they can lead to basically just about anything else happening in your body because your nervous system really controls all the other systems in your body. We start going down into the fact that we are struggling with a lot of ungroundedness today, disconnect from the earth and the rhythms of nature in a day-to-day basis, and that puts our nervous system in a very insecure state, combined with the fact that we live in a world that's changing very, very fast. So change is the only constant today. A lot of us actually don't know, can we count unemployment? Will we get a job? How many jobs will we change in our lives? Again, change. Will we ever own a home? Will we be renting for the rest of our lives? Will we ever be able to save up enough money? And spoiler alert, it's not buying the avocado toast that is a real problem today with saving up money. It's the rent we're paying in crazy freaking cities. I won't go down to rent, but as a person who lived in London and now lives in Munich, let me tell you, buying myself a cappuccino 3 times a week or going for an avocado toast is not the problem that I won't be able to buy myself a home. But so if we look at that level, people of our generation, we don't have our safety needs met, like at all. This part is on a large scale. Okay, security of body, if you live in Europe, you're pretty sure you won't walk down the street and get shot. Like that's pretty solid, and we have universal healthcare. Great. In the US, situation even there may be a bit different, but the rest of them are not met. The rest of the needs are not met. So then if we go even a level up, we see connection, affection, intimacy. I'm not talking here about occasional flings, going and having some random sex. I'm talking about deep, intimate connection, community. We live in a society where we're very individualistic. We don't know our neighbors. We have no idea who people living in our neighborhoods are. Sometimes we don't even, I know, I have 8 neighbors around here. I actually know 1 pair of them, and there's another family that, we kind of acquaintances. I don't know anyone else in this building. This building has 64 apartments. So, that's a lot, right? People have evolved in tribes. We thrive because we live together. And today we live in a society where we don't have a supportive group. A lot of the time, we don't actually have people who are cheering us on when we're striving to become the best version of ourselves. So that can be a really big drawback as well, that a lot of people come and say, oh, but I want to make all these changes to become the next version of myself, who I want to be, but this is not compatible with who my friends are. My friends go out and drink in the evenings, and then I go with them and I spend money on alcohol, and I don't even like alcohol, and then it makes me feel dizzy and I don't like it. But if I don't do this, then I don't have a supportive community. Yeah, your needs are not met. Your needs aren't met. It's going to be hard to move towards self-actualization if you don't have a community that supports you. Next is self-esteem. And I will make a very strong argument that I've seen based on my personal journey, and I'm experiencing that on a daily basis. But with a lot of other people I have worked with and seen go through the changes that I lead, is that self-esteem, confidence, and here an important thing I put in the group is also setting strong boundaries, which you will need on the journey of self-actualization. You know what to say yes to, and you know what to say no to. This is tied into safety needs. When you feel safe in your body, when you feel confident in your body's ability to deal with things, in your mind's ability, so having strong resilience, you will have more confidence. You will set stronger boundaries. You will start associating yourself with better people and cultivating deeper and more meaningful relationships. So to me, these 3 are actually connected to one another. And in that sense, I agree with the critics who are saying this is not meant to be a linear sort of scale of progress. But according to Maslow, it was never meant to be that anyway. So the pyramid actually came about later. So I hope that at this stage you understand from this very simple model, and in my eyes, a very intuitive model, why self-actualization won't just happen. Self-actualization doesn't just happen. And of course, let's even leave aside that self-actualization will be a lifelong progress. And when you come to the top of this peak, you will realize it's a mountain range, which is where all the fun happens, right? Like, how terrible would it be if at the age of, 40, you'd be like, oh, I've achieved everything I've ever wanted in my life. What do I do now? So, but if you want to, let me put it this way. The further you want to go with self-actualization, the more important it is. The more important it is to have strong foundations in every single other aspect of this pyramid. If you want to propel yourself further, you will need, just think about it that way. The further you go, the more challenges you will encounter. The harder the challenges, the more mental and physical resilience you need. The more energy you need to be able to do it. The larger and stronger social network you need to get further, to reach more people. And the more confident and the more worthy you need to feel to be able to pursue it. And I think this makes perfect sense. It's going to be really hard to go after something super ambitious if you feel super self-conscious, and if you feel anxious about things, and if your body's kind of falling apart, and if you feel like you have no support structure. Humans have not been designed to operate optimally in that way. So I hope this was useful. I hope this gave you a bit more of a perspective on what needs to be accomplished for you to be able to really focus on personal growth. I have a program that teaches these things. Specifically, I focus on creating a very strong foundation for the habits that are going to give you physical and mental resilience and immerse you in a dynamic evolutionary group environment, which is going to provide support for you to be able to propel yourself into your potential and become the best version of yourself. Become who you're really meant to be. If that's something you're interested in, there's a link below this video. You can click on it. You can check out our program. You can schedule a one-on-one call with me, and we'll talk about where you are, where you want to be going, and how we can work together to get you there. So thank you for watching this, and I will see you soon.